for Bring Your Own Lunch. Personal stories about the business with my daddy, Dave T. Koenig.
All right, come on in, have a seat. Welcome. This is the Bring Your Own Lunch podcast at bringyourownlunch.com, the magic of iTunes, the majesty of Stitcher, and however you found your way to download this podcast, I thank you. As you heard at the top, my name is Dave T. Koenig. I'm an actor, a writer, director, producer, comedian, all-around swell dude. I do this thing where if I'm going to bump into somebody in public, I go, oop. And I really want to learn how not to do that because it's kind of embarrassing. And of course, I'm the host of the podcast you're listening to right now. BYOL is the hashtag we use. If you want to reach out on social media via the various platforms there are out there, Facebook.com/BringYourOwnLunch, on Twitter at BYOL Podcast, on Instagram at BringYourOwnLunch. And of course, we have our own website, BringYourOwnLunch.com, as well as my personal email, Dave at BringYourOwnLunch.com, because I love hearing from people. It's always very cool if you do reach out and want to know more about this show and want to get in touch with me. It's always fun. By the way, if you're interested in a podcast featuring an interview with an awful, terrible, mean-spirited person, this is not your week, because my guest this week is veteran improviser and improv teacher and actor Pat Shay. Pat and I have known each other for close to 10 years, and he has remained one of the nicest people I've ever met in or out of the entertainment industry. He's just a super person, and sitting with him is kind of a breath of fresh air. This business, I haven't had too many bad experiences with people as an actor, and I'm very glad to say that. But I am fully aware that, some people are a little more cutthroat than others. And it's hard to be a nice person in this business because there's always demands on you, and everybody is sort of trying to figure out where their spot is. So when you meet somebody who is just genuinely kind and nice, you have to value them, and Pat Shay follows that description to a T. He has studied with the greats of improv, Del Close and Charna Halpern in Chicago, and he made his way to New York City, where he studied at UCB and at the Pit, and is now an instructor at the Pit. And he has been bringing improv to people for as long as I have known him. In fact, my first real experience at the People's Improv Theater, I believe it was back in 2006 or somewhere in there. I'm getting to the point where I don't remember exact years, and it's a little bit scary. But anyway, I took a class taught by a guy named Ptolemy Slocum, who is now in LA. I technically, when you enter the training at one of these improv theaters, you start at level 1 and you make your way up, or I think at UCB it's 101 or whatever, but you start at the basic class and you work your way up. Somehow I was able to kind of worm my way around it a little bit. I was on a short form improv team with a guy named Dan Poslins. He wanted to take a class, but he convinced them that because he'd had improv experience, legitimately so, that he shouldn't have to start at 0. He should start at a level commensurate with his experience. And they let him do it. And back then, things were a little more loose, and the demand for classes wasn't so great, so that he was able to get in at level 3. And he asked if I wanted to do it, and he was able to get a little bit of a discount for both of us. He was a good negotiator. I went ahead with it. I had no real necessary interest in getting involved in long-form improv in the city. I had a long history with short-form improv, but I said, what the heck? It seems like there's a lot of people who are involved in this, and it's not a bad idea to get hooked in with a theater. So I went ahead and did it. And so Dan and several other people in that class, we went and we were taught level 3 improv. And that was my first exposure to it. At the end of that, Ptolemy said, hey, I want to recommend you to be on a house team at the People's Improv Theater. They didn't do auditions back then. It was just sort of you were recommended by a teacher, and they put you on a team. And the first team I was ever on was one called Bold-Faced Liar. It was an existing team, and they had some openings. I really didn't know then, and I still don't know the history of that, but I ended up being put on that team, and the team was coached by Pat Shay. So Pat Shay has the honor of being the very first improv coach I ever had, which was a new thing to me because when you come out of short form, you're sort of on your own for the most part. But with improv, the long form improv that gets taught so much these days, having a coach in the room is like having a director for your show. Even though you do new scenes all the time and you don't repeat anything, having somebody who's there to take notes and to guide you and help you shape your craft is an important part of the process. So that's how I met Pat, and I eventually met his wife, Mary Teresa Archibald, and she is equally as nice as Pat, and they have both enjoyed a very successful marriage, and they have 2 beautiful kids. And as I also have 2 beautiful kids, finding time for us to sit down was kind of a premium. So we sat down over a weekend on a Saturday morning, which was early for both of us. And we found an hour to sit down and talk about Pat's career and his thoughts on improv and some of the other stuff that goes into being Pat Shay. And that hour went so fast, so that this episode today features the first of what will be a 2-part interview with Pat Shay, because we were only able to cover his early life, his college years, and his time spent in Chicago. We didn't even get to New York. So this will be the first of 2. We weren't able to record 2 in a row or a long interview to cut it up into 2 parts. So he and I are going to get together and do another episode of this podcast covering Pat's New York experience and some of his experience as a teacher and the people he's seen go through there. So I'm looking forward to do it again. But this one gives you the ground floor Pat Shay experience, all the goodies that went into his life and his career, and it's some interesting stuff. I think you'll really, really enjoy it and really get a sense of who Pat is and all the things he brings to the table. So that should be fun. Quick note, I said last week that the episode of the NBC show Allegiance that I am part of is scheduled to be on Thursday at 10 p.m. on NBC. Check your local listings. Now, I should have included that. I don't know if I'm getting edited out. That's something that we all deal with. The fun and not so fun part of being in this business is that you never really know. And in the case of doing a TV show where you're in one episode and only in a couple scenes, is that you could easily be edited out. It's happened to me before, and I'm sure it'll happen again. But here's my hope that I will not be cut out of that show. We'll see on Thursday. But if you could tune in on Thursday at 10 p.m., that would be fantastic. And check out what happens on that show. That's February 26th, in case you're listening to this sometime in 2016. And you're like, when is that? No, it's February 26th, 2015, 10 p.m. Eastern Time on NBC. That's Allegiance. And somewhere in there, your friend Dave may be making an appearance. Before we get any further, we got to thank Banuba.net. That's the band that provides the music at the beginning, middle, and end of this show. Gotta go check them out. They're great. Go to the site. You can download some of their music. You can find out where they will be playing and enjoy the full Banuba experience that we just hint upon with this show. And always got to express a note of gratitude for the music that they provide this show, because they provide the atmosphere. And I always say this show wouldn't be the same without them. And by the way, if you like what you hear, it would be so good of you to go to iTunes or Stitcher and then rate, review, and subscribe to the show. Rate it, giving it X number of stars, the most stars possible, please, and say something super, super nice. What happens is when you do that and you subscribe to the show, you tell iTunes that you're interested and that we're doing good stuff, and then we get a little bit of a promotional bump. How much of a promotional bump, I don't even know. That's all kept under tight security, the actual secrets of how iTunes works on the inside. But I do know this. If you do give us some positive feedback, it only helps us know that what we're doing is stuff that we should continue to do. And that is my plan, because it's been fun so far. And I'm glad you're here. All right, let's get into it with Pat Shay, my old improv coach, improviser, actor, Shakespeare lover, soccer aficionado, dad. Here's Pat Shay. Enjoy. This is officially the earliest podcast I've done yet. Are you a morning person?
No.
You're not? Okay.
No.
So you're kind of like me.
The kids are morning people.
Yeah, that changes with the kids.
Exactly.
There's a guarantee that you're never going to be the same person after the kids. But generally speaking, you're kind of a night owl.
I never thought of myself like that. When I look back at now that you're like asking and I'm actually thinking about it, I'm like, God, I guess I am.
Yeah.
Yeah. And certainly that's where I find my like free get stuff done time.
Totally.
Now.
Yeah.
It's like,
absolutely. Even after my wife goes to bed, it's like, oh, okay, fine. Yeah. Now I can do things that pertain to me.
Exactly.
Yeah. Which is watch TV and do nothing. You know?
Right. Yeah, exactly. I'll spend half the time writing. Not on a given night. Half of my nights I spend writing. And then I'll get into some sort of binge watching situation.
Yeah. Well, what are you running these days?
Like for binge watching?
Well, no. What are you writing?
Writing.
We can talk about what you're watching.
Sure. No. What am I writing? I finally decided to write my class, my scene work class specifically.
Okay.
I'm writing a book. That's my scene work class.
Yeah. Okay.
Which is just. It's funny. There's so many improv books. I don't want to say there are so many improv books out there. There are a lot of improv books out there.
Yes.
And it's one of those things. It's like, well, why should I be writing a book? At the same time, well, I've been teaching this class. I love teaching this class. It's my favorite sort of stuff to communicate. So especially now, like, oh boy, we're looking at moving. We're looking at, what happens is, next fall, my older kids start school.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I want to have something that I can continue to communicate this sort of stuff if I end up, not in town or whatever. So
yeah, it makes a big difference. I mean, my own experience, like not being right in the middle of town, you do find yourself kind of like needing to find ways to reconnect in town. Yeah. And that can be daunting,
Yeah. So you wake up, you drive into town to record a
podcast.
Yeah. To wake up, you drive into town and record a podcast
at way early in the morning. Yeah.
I've been up for 3 hours. Your kids are a little older, right?
Yeah. So one of them just kind of on her own, and the other one slept in a little bit because they were up late last night.
God bless them.
Yeah, no, they did us a favor. They did us a huge solid. Yeah, so I can't complain about my lot in life at the moment, right? But later I'll complain.
Yeah. I'm not going to complain. Like, I love it.
Yeah, of course.
You love it at the same time. Oh, wow.
Yeah. Well, you have to acknowledge that there's the challenge there.
Exactly.
That's how I like to put it.
Exactly.
It's a challenge.
Yeah.
And we all bear those challenges in different ways. Yeah. But for you, your oldest one is how old?
3.
So, and he's at soccer today.
Yes,
I don't want to reveal exactly where he is, for stalkers. But he's playing soccer at 3. Isn't that the best?
Yes. Yeah. Well. Yes, absolutely. It's funny, though, even with that, though, you get into a situation. We've been into 2 soccer programs now. And the first one we thought, well, geez, they don't play games. They just do exercises, And so then we moved to another one where we were told there would be games. And it's the same thing.
Yeah.
It's the exact same thing. And and so now we're just sort of balanced. Oh, I guess this is as much fun as soccer gets for a 3-year-old.
Yeah, because how much structure do they have for anything? I mean, like drawing. I mean, you give them very specific colors and you give them very specific lines, and they don't care about any of it. They're just going to put whatever they want on the paper. Yeah. And that's how they play soccer.
Exactly. Well, and that's the thing. And that's what we sort of expected. That's what everyone told us. Oh, little kid soccer is the best. There's just this little huddle around the ball and just moves around. And we go there expecting that, and it's like, okay, you're going to sit on the carpet and I'm going to explain an exercise to you.
Oh,
and then you're going to go do the exercise, and then you're going to have a water break. And I was like, I am not opposed to structured learning.
No.
I'm totally cool with structured learning.
Right.
I structure my classes a lot. Most of my students are adults.
So you would not structure an improv class quite the same way for a child as you would for an adult.
Yeah. And I mean, actually, Mary and I teach parent and kid improv, not just kids. Parents, the idea is parents play with their kids. And
that is actually kind of cool.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
It really is awesome when it works. Like, you need engaged parents. You need, at the same time, it's we don't take any time to explain anything. It's just, we're doing this. Okay, we're doing this. We're doing this. It's a sprint, it's a 45-minute sprint through a class.
And it's just wild and crazy, and it just goes and goes and goes and goes. Yeah. That makes the most sense to me when you're dealing with young kids.
With that age, with that age. As the kids get older, then you put in more structure. But is that, our 3 to 5s is just...
Yeah, you just kind of have to go with the flow. Yeah. I always look at soccer when you're having kids who are, 3, 4, 5. It's like when you go to the beach and there's all those birds that stand by the shore. The wave goes out and they all kind of run forward. When the wave comes in, they run back. That's exactly what it looks like to me. Yeah. They're just running forward and then running backward and then running forward. And nobody's quite sure why. They just know that that's what they're supposed to do.
Yeah. And I wish I had that. What I get is there are a bunch of cones out. Now you have to stand on the side of the cone and push it down so that the cone stands up.
Wow.
Yeah. Right? Thank you.
I'm not necessarily on board with this particular soccer.
No, this is 2 different programs we've gone to, and they do the same stuff. And so, at some point, just put a ball down and see what they do.
Yeah, we don't play with a ball here at this soccer camp. Yeah. We just we explain soccer technique and philosophies.
Exactly.
Because we think 3-year-olds really take to philosophy lessons.
Now, when you're in a 4-4-2, we're gonna look at a diamond midfield in a 4-4-2.
So
you're pushing up. This is turning into a 3-5-2, people.
So your soccer too, and I think that's something that you and I talked about right when we first met. And I want to start to get into you and your career and your stuff. But you and I met, I think it was almost 10 years ago.
Yeah, it was.
Which is
At
crazy.
this point, it was. Yeah.
Time flies, and it just that's the way things happen. Yeah. And because I think I was getting involved with the Pit in about 2006, and obviously that's almost 10 years ago. Yeah. How long have you been in? How long have you been in New York at that point?
Was it 2006? I guess so. And honestly, I don't entirely remember. I moved here, I want to say end of 2003 or end of 2004. I remember I moved here in November.
And you just don't remember which year?
Yeah.
It must have been something.
Yeah. It must have been 2004. Was it? No. Sorry. Because I was married in...
You were married shortly after we met.
Yeah, exactly.
Were you?
Yeah, that would have been 2005, I think.
Was it 2005?
Oh,
see, neither of us can remember anything. This is fine. Yeah. This is the fun of getting older.
Yeah.
All right. But
luckily, Mary will never listen to this.
Well, that's good news. I
know May 28th.
May 28th. You remember Mary? He remembered May 28th, and that's the important thing. So where did you start? Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Colorado. Yeah. I was born in Germany. I'm military parent, so I was born in Germany.
Ah, okay.
Then my dad retired from the Army when I was about 6.
Okay.
And moved us to his favorite town from any place. So I grew up in Colorado Springs.
So he was able to choose wherever.
Kind of, yeah. It was just like, okay, this is, of all the places where I've been stationed, this is my favorite town.
Where else was your dad stationed? With you?
God, everywhere. Oh, with us?
Yeah.
With us, let's see. So Heidelberg, Germany, that's where I was born. Then Colorado Springs. Then Newport News, Virginia. And then when he retired, we moved back to Colorado
So you weren't like moving around the world. You were just moving around the country a little bit.
Yeah, like my sisters got the global experience. They're 4 and 5 years older than me.
So you missed out on what besides Heidelberg, Germany?
Yeah, well, any place in Europe. Before that, well, nothing too exciting. North Carolina, stuff like that. Although there was definitely like a Hawaii time. Not like a station there for years, but an extended period of time in Hawaii.
Any more than 3 days would be great,
Right?
Any more than an hour and a half would be great, especially, with the weather being what it is. But,
Yeah, exactly.
So they had a little more of the, running around and true military child experience. You just moved a few times.
Yeah, certainly when they were coming into high school, they started getting really antsy of why haven't we moved anywhere?
Oh, interesting.
And that was something since I started first grade, I stayed in the same school district, more or less growing up. That was never an issue for me. I was just, okay, I'm
so
a
you had stability.
Yeah.
So unlike many military kids who just feel like that wanderlust kind of kind of feeling. You at 6 years old, you hadn't really developed a sense of normalcy anyway. So all you knew was Colorado.
Basically, yeah. That's more or less what I remember.
Interesting. What was life like there?
Oh, I think it was great. No, it was great. There's a time, I think, when any suburban teenager, and by the way, Colorado Springs is a suburb unto no city. It's just this big suburb. I should say it had a beautiful downtown area, but basically it's just a big suburb. And so obviously you get to this time when you're in high school and you're just like, this is ridiculous. This isn't the real world. It's so, because now with the kids, it's like, all I want is a patch of grass. I want a patch of grass for my kids to get out.
Sure.
But, so there was that. But I mean, at the time, there was this little ski area that was a mile from my house, and they had nighttime skiing. So growing up, I skied every day. It was $100 for a season ticket.
Oh my, jeez.
For a kid, $125, I want to say. So I skied every day after school.
Wow.
Mountains, hiking, bike riding, bike racing.
Real outdoorsy.
Yeah. So I had a great time.
Yeah, and you stayed there throughout, I guess, the end of high school.
Till college, yeah.
Yeah. Well, somewhere in there, did you feel like, hey, there's this, performing is a thing? And when did you start to get that?
Yes, and then I quit.
Okay, there you go.
So, I started performing. My sister got into the local production of Oliver. And I was like, wow, that's cool. She still performs too, by the way.
Okay.
And I got a little older. Her name's Judy. Judith Shay Comstock.
That sounds like a real actor's actor name.
Well, opera singer's opera singer name.
There you go.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, that's an official sounding name.
Yes, exactly.
You better have that if you're going to sing opera.
Yes, exactly.
Schmendrick is an opera singer. It's not a good last name.
Lyric soprano Judith Shay Comstock.
Look her up by name.
There you go.
All right, so she's also a performer in the family. So she was an Oliver. You were impressed. What happened?
So I started doing choir. And my choir got hired, if you will, to do the Colorado Opera Festival and be the chorus in Carmen. So I was I ended up being the lead street urchin in Carmen.
Wow.
It was funny. Yeah. So that's like 11. That's 12.
That's not a normal performance experience for a child that age.
No, it was really cool. I mean, it was a big, that's
a big deal.
It was a big, 3,500 seater, theater with orchestra pit and professional opera singers being brought in from out of town. Yeah, it was really cool.
There's a lot of actors now at our stage of the game who would kill for an opportunity to perform in front of that many people.
Oh, heck. Yeah. Well, that too. Yeah.
And in that sort of professional setting.
Yeah.
Wow. And you had that at 11.
Yeah, exactly. So pretty much the rest of my life's been a big disappointment.
You peaked way too early.
Yeah, exactly. So I did that up until high school, and then in high school I didn't get the first play, especially because I thought I'm the actor guy.
Oh, you're a big fish.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I didn't get my first play in high school, and then I started hanging out with this great guy who couldn't stand actors, and I was like, yeah, actors suck. And so I didn't touch it at all until my senior year of college.
So you were 14, I guess, give or take.
Yeah, exactly.
And you had found a friend who was about the same age.
Yeah.
Who hated actors.
He was 15. He had to repeat a year.
Okay. So he'd had experience.
Yeah, exactly.
He'd been around the block a few times.
And
been screwed over by too many actors.
Something. Yeah, exactly. No, there was just one guy in school that at the time he thought was a douche, and he was like, that guy is such a jerk. Actors are lame.
That's so funny, man.
And the funny thing is, so and this is my loyalty to people. I carried my distaste for actors until senior year. After senior year, our French teacher put together a trip to France for a bunch of us. It was great. And the actor guy was on it, and he and my buddy were thick as thieves the whole time.
Of course.
All the way through France. They're climbing on buildings in Paris. I mean, seriously. And exactly. And so I was like, wait a second. Wait, you hate him. Yeah. You told me you hate him. That was 3 years ago.
And by all means, those decisions you make at 15 should stamp in ink for life.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's an indelible mark on that guy. How could you possibly be friends now?
Exactly.
These are the mentalities of the average 14, 15-year-old. Yeah. So what did you do instead of performing? Like, what did you fill your time with?
Well, I did now I will say this, there was an improv class that got offered, and I did take improv for a year, junior year of high school. Then it disappeared. It wasn't offered
in school,
senior year.
In school improv class?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And what, I'm guessing at the time that was short form.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Because long form really wasn't a thing yet for most people in like especially the suburbs.
At that time, I mean, I think that even back at that time, if I were in Chicago, if I had been in Chicago, IO was still like basically a comedy sports format. Yeah,
right.
Like Herald existed, but I don't think really anyone outside of like San Francisco had done it at that
point. And your hardcore, like real early adopter improv folks were the only people doing that stuff. Yeah. So you did some improv, and is that what really set the tone for the rest of it, or?
Well, I was curious about it, you know, but then all through college, like I ended up working on the campus paper, and I was editor in chief of the campus newspaper, and really just figured I was going towards journalism. Yeah,
where'd you go?
Loyola University, New Orleans. Yeah.
Did you enjoy New Orleans for all its riches, or were you more of well, tell me about your college experience being in the middle of New Orleans, which isn't known for its a cradle of gentle, saintly pursuit. Well, that's the thing. It sort of is, though, right? It's a very religious aware town. I wasn't even thinking religion. I'm just thinking people go there and you tend to black out for a couple of days and then come back.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. That's when you go there on a vacation or whatnot.
Okay.
The town, that's because the town's very Catholic too. Mm. It is a saints and sinners, like that's the whole purpose of Mardi Gras is let's get all this out. Let's just be as bad as we can because we're going to be good tomorrow.
Right, yeah.
You know? And so there is this like spiritual side to getting really drunk and going to strip clubs that's embraced in New Orleans. And not that I went to one strip club my whole life. I just have to do a caveat, and that's because my good buddy, his mom had been a stripper, and he was feeling like
and he wanted to visit mom.
It wasn't his mom, but he was like, I'm really down. I'm really lonely.
And he missed his mom?
I'm just nostalgic. I'm feeling nostalgic. Can we go to a strip club tonight? Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, brother. And Mary, we want to stress, he went to one strip
club. Just that one. And it wasn't
for his friend.
It wasn't a full thing.
It was a family thing.
Yeah. I went to one later after Mary and I were already dating. IO Roadshow got a gig. Just full disclosure. IO Roadshow got a gig in Peoria, Illinois, which is like the strip club capital of the world.
It is?
Now you know.
Wow.
Yeah. We got a gig at Bradley University.
Okay.
And so we're there. We're like, as a group, male and female, we all went. That's what we did for entertainment that night.
All right, so you're living the New Orleans life.
So
for whatever that means, and you end up a senior. And what were you there to study originally?
Well, I went there for communications. Film studies was my track within communications, which Loyola didn't. They had a lot of great broadcast facility and stuff like that. I don't know why I never took advantage of that. I only did film theory and criticism.
Was there a divide among the departments? I don't mean to cut you off there, but was there a divide among the departments? Like, were film people, radio people, and TV people? Because that's how it was for me in college. There was some overlap, but it was like people who focused on one were like, the others are terrible.
Yeah. In general, the broadcast people were broadcast people. Mm-hmm. It was really by professor. There was a professor named Mary Blue, who was just this broadcast maven goddess, amazing professor. And then there was a professor named Ray Schroth, who was this print, like, intense print guy, and really I think you were a Mary Blue person or a Ray Schroth person. I was a Ray Schroth person.
Okay.
And because of that, like the broadcast thing was like cheap, I'll make film one day, but not this, not take advantage of these amazing facilities that the university had. I'm going to sit in a cigarette smoke filled newspaper office and like type my, diatribes and odes and whatnot like that.
Live the suffering life of a print man, because that's where the future is.
Exactly. And this was before the internet. Not to age myself.
I remember those days when you really had to actually write something down. It was a pain in the neck. So what flipped you back into performing?
It's funny. I've mentioned this before, but a night after a newspaper meeting, it was a Friday afternoon, and then I got home, called my friends. Everyone had already gone out. I was like, I can go see, because I'd love to go see music anytime, my whole time in New Orleans. Like, you had the best people.
I mean, geez, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It was $5.
Oh,
the acts that I have to put out $50 for in New York. $5 on the corner. I could walk down and see anyone,
And take your pick.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
exactly.
Man.
Anyway, but I was like, I can do that, but I'm at least 6 weeks behind on my reading for this Shakespeare into film class.
Okay.
And so I sat down with a 6-pack of Labatt's and I read King Lear. And by the end of the 6-pack and King Lear, I was like, I want to be an actor.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. I was like, I want to be in this. I want to be a part. I want to be in this world.
Wow.
Yeah. Not like I want to pursue it as a career.
Right. But you wanted to do it.
I want to be in a play. Like I want to be in this universe that Shakespeare. I still haven't had a chance to do King Lear, by the way.
This is putting it out in the world there.
Yeah.
It's like The Secret.
Yeah, exactly. I'm losing hair fast, people. I'm just saying.
I don't want to hear it.
The gray is starting to show up.
Yeah.
So got interested. I didn't do anything about it till the beginning of the next year, which was my senior year. So I started doing stand-up around town in New Orleans.
Okay.
That's how I.
Where I mean, I can only assume just because there's so many performance venues, but was there a lively comedy scene in New Orleans?
Lively and small simultaneously,
that could be a benefit,
Yeah. Oh, it was fantastic.
Because you probably the hurdle to get in has to be a bit lower than it would be here in New York or LA or something. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, by the end of that year, I was making enough to cover rent.
You're getting paid.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well,
wow.
I mean, you start doing open mics, but then someone's like, "Oh, hey, I'm doing a gig at so and so. Come on by," and they give you $30. Or we started an improv group.
Okay.
Midway through that year. And we would just split the door among us every week.
You guys were making some. Well, it's like you tell that to someone who's doing comedy in New York right now, and they're like, "Wait, people might pay you money?
Yeah, exactly.
It's not. You don't have to pay them. It's like it's almost like a backwards idea. But that's the benefit of being, I guess, in a smaller market. Let's say,
sure, is
that you can get in, and there is some money to be made on a smaller level, albeit, but you can do it.
Yeah, everything's cheaper. So the movie theater that loaned us a space at midnight on Fridays for our improv show, I mean, I think they took some of the door. I don't think it was a 50-50 split. I think we got more than 50% out of that.
Wow. How many people would you get?
We'd split it up. Well, now here's the thing, because we thought we were rock stars. Because it would fill up. I mean,
you'd get that many people.
Movie theater was like 60. You could fit 60 people. It was
like the Improv Theater's here. I mean, that's like not that many more people. Depending on which one you go to, but so 60 people on a consistent basis.
Yeah,
for an independent, local group is huge.
Oh, it was. It was. And we really thought we were awesome. What we realized, or what I realized in the years that went by, was it was mostly high schoolers in our group, and movie pitchers was the place that the movie theater. Movie pitchers because they served beer.
Ah, okay.
And they weren't that nice. They weren't that intense about carding. Yeah. No place in New Orleans was, but so high schoolers would come to our show.
Gotcha.
Not for improv.
But would they enjoy it? That's the
yeah.
I mean, were they attentive? So they were a good audience.
Oh yeah.
So I guess it didn't matter if they were there for the Labatt's or not.
Yeah. Well, there were excited and drunk and like happy to be out. And
that's what you want when you're doing improv. Yeah. So what was, you said most of the people in the group were high schoolers?
No. Most of the people in the audience were high schoolers.
But were they all from Loyola or the people who were in the group?
No. It was because when I did start doing stand-up, it was out in so it was New Orleans stand-up world.
Oh, okay. All right. So you drew people from there. So, yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. Anybody from that group you're still connected with, or somebody who, might be involved now or recognizable or anything like that?
Sure. Well, yeah. Ken Jeong from Community.
Yeah.
And the Hangover movies.
Dr. Ken.
Yeah, Dr. Ken. Yeah.
That's where he started.
He was a med student. He was a med student at University of New Orleans. Yeah.
That's hilarious.
And so, yeah.
Wow. Okay.
It was cool.
It's just so funny, and it's almost like a statistical anomaly more than anything else. But just the odds of that happening are just so cool that the both of you continue to thrive in the business. And is he the only one, or
he thrives?
We all thrive on our individual level. You are in the business. You are here. Sure. You are doing it. So let's not take away from the Pat Shay life experience story here.
Yeah.
Dr. Ken is doing what Dr. Ken does, and Pat Shay does what Pat Shay does, and they are both equally viable and legit. Okay.
Sure. Okay. Right. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm still in Facebook touch.
Yes,
with pretty much everyone. Now, one of the guys who was in that group was my guy who my stripper friend.
Your stripper friend who missed his mom.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And really, we had a good chance to reconnect. The rest of the group did, because he passed away last year, and so we've been sort of trying to get back in touch a little bit and talk about. They had a reunion show. But that's the thing, that group that we started back then is still going.
Wow.
So I don't want to even say it's a reunion show, but they had a marquee show at that point. It was after that show that someone from that group reached out and was like, hey, are you the same Pat Shay who was in this?
Wow.
20 odd years ago.
So it's got a heritage, it's got a history. And what's it called?
It's now called Brown. At the time it was called This Is Brown. Okay. And then there was a conflict. and the result of the conflict was that the group is now just called Brown Improv Comedy. Yeah.
It's why?
Originally, someone mentioned the founder of the group, who's not me, a guy named Kane Collier, who is still performing in Chicago. Is a fantastic stand-up.
And therefore thriving.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
Exactly. He was talking with his friend about improv, and they were sort of naming things, and they were like, hey, this is blue, this is brown.
Okay.
And they named it This Is Brown.
All right. And where did you draw from in terms of, structuring the show? Was that still short form, more comedy sports, like quick hits, get to the funny and get out kind of thing?
Exactly. At the time, our stand-up shows, because we did stand-up every Wednesday night at that same movie theater, you know? And that was great. It was an open mic, but then there was a headliner. And the guy who founded that would just take one of the guys who had been doing open mic and say, can you be my headliner tonight? And then he'd pay you. It was just the best.
That's insane. Yeah,
It was. You come in, you sort of earn your stripes, and you close the show, and you get money,
Brilliant.
I'm talking $35, but you do... In New Orleans, at that time, you do $10, $35 shows a week. In a month.
You're fine.
And your rent is paid, and you've got more than enough beer money,
And you're only, 21, 22 years old tops, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Wow. So anyway. You graduated Loyola?
Yeah.
And what were you, with your degree in film studies?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So where did you go from there?
I moved home, didn't know what to do, saw an ad in the paper about an improv workshop. As it turns out, it was the woman who ran the theater that Kane had just moved to, Kane Collier.
Yeah.
And as it turns out, the people putting it up were family friends, opera friends of my sister's, So I stayed with them, and the woman who ran that workshop was, or who taught the workshop was Charna Halpern. Mm-hmm. The workshop, it only happened once. It was to promote Truth in Comedy, the book that had just been released.
Wow. So that was just complete, what do you call that? Serendipity.
Yeah.
Wow. And for anybody who doesn't know, when you say Charna Halpern, improv people know that, but who is Charna Halpern?
Founder of Improv Olympic, the woman who hired Del Close to come and teach anything he wanted to teach, which is what enabled long form improv to exist. Really. So
a huge figure in the world of improv history.
Yeah.
And what kind of stuff was she teaching at that particular seminar?
It was Harold.
She was introducing you first time to long form improv.
Yeah, long form in general, actually. It wasn't just Harold. We did a number of different forms over the course of the week.
Okay.
And it was 9 to 5 improv every day.
Wow.
Yeah. And so you come in with this sense of, I know improv. I did it in front of drunken high schoolers.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And she's applying a totally different standard, in terms of playing at the top of your intelligence, in terms of being emotionally reactive and adaptive. And it took a few days to get on page. But the great thing is there were like 10 of us in this workshop, 9 to 5 every day. And it was just still one of the most intense artistic, creative experiences I've ever had.
Wow. Again, this is, when people hear about improv, as much as we like to think everybody kind of has a really good, solid idea of the differences in improv.
Sure.
There is a huge diversity in styles. And you and I, we have a similar thing in that we grew up knowing short form, which is, if you watch Whose Line Is It Anyway, you can imagine the kind of games you would play and try to get really as many jokes in as you can. And then how did the idea of, and what is long form to you, and how did that develop?
How did long form develop to me, or
in your knowledge?
Okay.
Well, in your knowledge, based on what you've learned, because you can speak more authoritatively than I can.
Okay.
What's the history of doing what they call now long form improv versus short form? And
Well, it really came from a difference of opinion between Del Close, who was the guru. Guru is the term that everyone uses about Del. And part of that's something that he built himself, but he was the guru, and certainly one of the driving forces, the biggest driving force, I'd say, behind long form. It was a difference of opinion between him and then Paul Sills and Viola Spolin, who were Viola sort of created North American improv in a series of workshops she did for kids at a community center on the south side of Chicago in the 30s.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's the kind of history I don't know about that I know you do, which is fascinating.
Yeah, it all came out of, there was a sociologist at Northwestern University who was studying the therapeutic aspects of gameplay. And Viola had been sort of raised in a theater family, grown up playing a lot of charades and things like that. And she was like, she was a student of the sociologist, and she said, I'd like to do a class where we did theater games, and I'd create games like charades, I'd create games out of theater and do it for kids from different immigrant communities. And that's how it started. Then her son grew up and founded the Second City, So originally it was this therapeutic gameplay.
Interesting.
Is what improv was. Then when her son got to University of Chicago and he met his buddy, or he met the people who became his close friends, they started a theater company called the Compass Players, who eventually became the Second City.
Wow.
Through a number of iterations.
That's pretty amazing to consider, that it started from that sort of notion of being therapy for people.
Yeah.
And to look at it now, for so many people, it kind of still is.
Oh, it absolutely.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah. And the practices that help, this is something I do a lot. This is a lot of how I survive nowadays is interpreting these practices back into regular life, and into work and into the different things that we do.
And by that, we'll just take a little detour here, but by that you mean you teach people who are not performers.
Yeah, improv for business.
Some of this stuff.
Improv parenting. Yeah.
So in what sense are you bringing improv to them? It seems like a natural, because I get it, but what kind of tools are you giving people when you teach like improv for business? It seems, because you're thinking, it's supposed to be funny and comedy and all that stuff, but that doesn't necessarily fit in business. So what are you bringing to them?
Well, there's a number of elements. Certainly different aspects of yes and. Yes and being, again, if you're not an improviser, that's the atom on which all improv is built, is acknowledge, agree, accept what's coming in. That doesn't mean you like it, but you have to acknowledge that, hey, someone offers me something, thank them for it in a way, take a moment to acknowledge it and then connect it to you, connect it to your perspective, your, what you want to add.
So if somebody says, this is part of this reality, you don't say, no, that's not part of this reality. You say, yes, that is part of this reality. Yeah. And then the and part is what?
And then you can say, well, the and is everything, or anything you want, and let's do this with it. That's one thing.
There you go.
You can also say, and my perspective on this reality is this. How are we going to work this out?
Yeah. And that's where it seems to take on a much more universal concept, where it's not just, we're building a funny scene. We're actually interacting in a much more productive way, and that to me is fascinating. I mean, that's what psychologically in improv really. I'm interested in that because you can take that to other things.
Yeah.
I worked with Ed Schlossberg, who you may or may not have heard of. And he would talk about it as the iterative process, where it's like, I would say, hey, this is the idea. And you'd say, yes, let me shape that a little bit and give it back to you. And you shape it a little bit and give it back to them. And it's a very similar idea. And he would do that as a business practice.
Yeah.
But it's something that also totally connected with what is happening in improv now, which is great.
Yeah. Yeah, well, when we think of it in terms of ideation, I do a lot of brainstorm warm up sort of stuff for different groups. It's also a conflict resolution or conflict management tool, because the first thing that happens in conflict is we start saying, either denying what someone else is offering us, For instance, you're with your girlfriend. She says, "I feel fat." And as a guy, my first instinct is bullshit. No, you're not.
Right.
I'm telling you, you're not. And that doesn't acknowledge the way she's feeling.
Right.
Right. And so you want to draw that in and at least say, listen, I know that's how you feel. Mm-hmm. And then connect to it.
Yes.
And I want you to know that I see something else entirely.
Right.
And I want you to know that I think you're beautiful.
Which is accepting of the feeling and the expression that she's giving you, and not denying it, but at the same time using it and adding to it in a positive way. And it doesn't mean to say, yes, you are fat and you're kind of stupid. Yeah. That's not improv.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. It's like, I acknowledge that. I know that's how you feel.
Yes.
I know that's how you feel. And, and I want you to know how I feel. And so at least, okay, now we're on the same page. Now we're agnowledging each other.
Which is, I mean, you apply that to any relationship in your life, and it's like, hey, wow, that works. And it sounds improv geeky to say, but it's definitely helped in my marriage to be able to speak like that. I mean, just the basic communication between two people, you need those tools to avoid like conflict, like you said. Exactly. It's so vital, so vital. All right. So you had this seminar with Charna.
Yeah.
And it was an amazing experience.
Yeah.
What did you do after that?
That ended, it had to have ended August 4th or 5th of 1994.
We're doing years again here.
Yeah, exactly. And by September, I moved to Chicago September 5th of that year. I moved to Chicago 1 month, pretty much.
You knew that was where you were headed next. You just felt it?
Yes and no. I mean, I still wanted to get into Shakespeare, and I was like, I'm going to go to Chicago, study with this Del Close character, learn improv. I'll take 6 months, learn improv, and then I'll move to New York and become a serious actor. That's what my thought was.
The best laid plans.
Yeah, exactly. And so when I moved to New York 10 years later, I still was not, I still realized that I hadn't learned improv,
You really felt at that point you still hadn't learned improv.
Well, it still has a lot to teach me.
Interesting.
Interesting. Yeah. And now I've just, I understand that now. It's always going to have something to teach me. So I'm lucky about that.
Very, very interesting. I mean, you're probably somewhere, you may have done 10,000 hours for all we know. I mean, I don't know. I'm sure you've counted, but at 10 years, you still haven't felt like you had got that proverbial 10,000 hours in you yet, which is amazing.
Yeah. Well, I realized that there were always going to be mysteries, and improv. What I love so much about improv is that it's up to you the sort of show you want to do. You may not accomplish it each week, but It's very like that Ira Glass thing about taste, what your taste not level is, but this is what you're about, and you'll get closer to it the more you work.
Okay, yeah.
So if you want to push boundaries, there's no better place than improvisation because, emotional boundaries there's no better place than improvisation because it's up to you and it's your choice. And if you fail to try, that ends up on your head.
Yeah. It's a very vulnerable feeling. I think we think of it as this group think experience because you're up there on stage with like 5 or 7 or however many number of people, and you're all working toward the same goal and you're all sharing a mind and all that stuff. But yet each person within that has a very specific responsibility. Yeah. And it can fall apart so quickly. I think that's one of the major problems that I had doing improv on a regular basis was the frustration of it kind of growing through those moments where it's like, okay, you just fell apart right in front of me there, or I just fell apart right in front of you, and getting stuck right there. I think that was a major problem for me. How have you learned to get more into that group mind? Because that's the one that always stopped me. It's like willingness and acceptance of that group mentality. How does that work for you yourself?
That's interesting. Ideally, I don't always work with groups of like folks who are planning on being on the same page, and it can still be a frustration, and it's also something that I want to work on, that I want to continue to work on. In general, what I love to get with folks who have the same goals when they get on stage as I do, my favorite group in Chicago, that's why it became my favorite group in Chicago is because we ended up on the same page, in terms of like, this is what we want out of shows. And if we're not funny, we still know what we want, or succeed or fail, we know what we're after, Was
that ever expressed specifically, or did you just kind of feel like you all knew what the goal was?
I don't know if that's true. I don't know if we ever. No, we did. We half did. We half did. Certainly, there were a couple of players who wanted us to change into something a little more speedy and a little more intentionally fun. And I don't want to say intentionally funny, but add a few bits, because we really got into trying to draw humor out of emotional scene work and trying to draw humor out of character tension. Specifically like that character tension. So there were a couple of folks who wanted to, move with faster edits and things like that. That would bring a lot of shorter, like quick laughs into a show. And the rest of the group sort of balked until they quit. So no, did we verbalize this is what we're after? I don't know if we ever did.
Interesting.
We did say, listen, I'm not into that. And by process of elimination, we ended up with each other.
Interesting. Now, who are some of the people who you did connect with and who you felt were on the same page?
Well, I mean, are you saying who was on that team?
Yeah.
At the end? Well, it was great. These are all Chicago improvisers, obviously Jason Chin, Rich Sohn, Angela Forfia, who, by the way, is one of the 5, to me, top 5 all-time improvisers. And the one issue that she has is that she's not that into improv. It drives me crazy.
That's the really good athlete in school who just really didn't want to try, but you knew that he'd be making $5 million today. Like every at bat if he just like showed up for practice. That kind of thing.
Just absolutely breathtaking. Every time I got to see her play, every time I got to play with her, and she, she's she does very cool work. It's just, improv is this portion of her life and she doesn't want it to be more than that.
Wow. Good for her though. I mean, because some people you have your limit for how much you really want in your life, and it's okay. I think that's another thing that was interesting for me is knowing people like that. I came into it fairly, a portion into my career. and I was looking for tools and ways to connect and things like that. But I was very serious about my career, and there were people who were just kind of like figuring themselves out.
Right.
And for me, I just was like, wait, don't you want the same exact thing I do? Exactly. And it was unfair and it was not right, but it's what caused some conflict for me.
Yeah.
So it is funny. You do run into a variety of people in improv, and they don't necessarily all have the same life goals.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
Which means they're wrong to me.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
By the way, I don't know if this is being picked up on camera, but apparently they are rehearsing some form of production of Shaka Zulu in another room. I don't know what's going on over there, but we're in a rehearsal studio, so you have to accept that as part of life. So,
exactly. We're sitting and talking at 9 a.m. They are screaming and jumping. So
who's the smart one? Yeah. I still don't know. You know?
Exactly.
So you work directly with Del Close.
Yes.
And how would you describe him to somebody who doesn't know much about him? Besides, you already mentioned he's the guru, but what made him such a presence for people?
A couple of things. His comportment. Oh, and let me name my other teammates.
Okay,
just because it's like I named 3, and there are so many brilliant people. Dina Fackless, John Mulhern, Dan Sipp. Now I'm like, who else was in it? Ann O'Neill. Okay, great. I think that's everyone.
All right, we will.
Chris Day. I was on 2 teams simultaneously with Chris Day, and so I always think of him anyway as like. Anyway, Del Close. You were asking about Del Close.
Yes.
Del Close.
But no, it's important to make sure you acknowledge every member of a group because you don't want to be a dick.
Yeah.
Okay.
Del, there were a number of things that made him stand out. But the first, and because there's his like personal story and the madness and the heroin and the sideshow act and the fire breathing and all the and the there's a time he was committed to an asylum, but he was still performing on the main stage of Second City. So they would send a town car to the asylum to get him out at 6 p.m. so that he could go do the main stage show. And then 2 orderlies would show up, get him in a car the second the show was over, and send him back.
I never heard that story. He's like the Hannibal Lecter of improv.
Well, yes, exactly. I mean, honestly, if there was a presence in a room, not as ominous and not as friendly,
not as friendly as Hannibal Lecter.
Yeah, well, Hannibal Lecter very friendly.
He was charming. He did have some charm.
But that level of intensity and that stillness, to where he shocked you into doing your best work by his absolute insistence that you were at the very top of your game every time. And he had a great nose for when people were indulging themselves and not trying and not being intelligent. I remember at a certain point, there was a scene, someone was creeping around in the woods in Korea, and we didn't know what was going on. And someone wanted to test him to see if he was an American by asking him, who's president of the United States? And boy, the scene it was terrible. I think back at it, and I'm like, oh God. And he said, the president of the United States is, and he covers his mouth and makes a humming sound. And Del just got furious because it's like, hey, make a choice. And now it really doesn't matter who you think the president of the United States is at the time. B, you can't you can't think of a president. And
or even just anybody. You say Bruce Willis.
You're shying away from doing. You're passing the buck. And then he giggled, and then the guy giggled. And then a lot of other people giggled around him as this sort of sympathetic, we know this is going poorly. I want to give you support, so I'm going to. And so he yelled at all of us.
Wow.
For not just at the guy for not making a choice and not being, assertive and not standing up for himself in a way. But at all of us for indulging weakness, if you will. And by the way, not actual weakness. If someone was genuinely weak, or someone was genuinely unintelligent, he had no issue with that. He had a huge issue with people who didn't play to the top of their intelligence, whatever it was. You know, if someone wasn't talented, he had no issue with untalented players. So long as when they came, they brought 100% of themselves, you know, and because of that, and that was the one time you'll hear stories of him just flying off the walls and, you know, writing checks out to people saying, you're obviously not interested in what we're trying to accomplish in this class. There's a refund. Please take it and leave.
Wow.
You've never, yeah.
No, I mean, this is all stuff that I've only ever, and I think this is part of my process of even doing things like this podcast is I've sort of kind of felt on the periphery of things sometimes. And it's a way for me to kind of tap into all the stuff I missed because I wasn't there and I wasn't, people who were there sharing war stories. It's like, I can't relate. So it's like, I kind of have to pick and choose where I find out this information. And this stuff to me is fascinating because as you were telling the story, I'm thinking to myself, you know, you're a teacher now and the way of the world now is, can somebody like that or a teaching method like that exist anymore? Because it is a harsh way to teach. It is, it's a demanding way to teach. And some people don't like having demands put on them. And for a long time, you know, I'm very demanding of myself. I expect a lot from myself, but you know, people seem to kind of want the soft touch. And it's like, I just want somebody to beat the hell out of me to make me a little bit better. But I don't know that everybody else wants to be beaten to the point where they put out their best stuff, if that makes any sense. So it seems like I relate more to Del Close than I ever kind of necessarily believed I might. Because I didn't know all these backstories. It was fascinating. Wow.
This is interesting too. The beating and the. I
don't necessarily want to be beaten per se, but I just want to make that, you know, stress that to anybody who might start punching me in the face.
So, and now you're making me clarify, because it's funny, because now I think of the way I teach, and if anything, people will be like, why aren't you harder on us? You know, and
I don't know that you can be.
And to me, well, it's a way. I realized it's like, because the way I try and teach is like, okay, where do we want to get to in this class? Where are you now? You know, and to me, the way is always to try and show as much what to do as opposed to tell you what you're doing wrong, you know, because whenever I you know, I'll bring up the improv thing about questions. You're not supposed to ask questions in improv.
That's the general guideline of one of the tenet rules of improv. Because, and the reason being.
Well, there's a number of reasons. The main thing is, or the first one that people will mention is you're putting pressure on your partner to create, you know. On top of that, that's not what the issue is, though. I mean, with the questions thing, the questions are a sign that you're not being assertive, you know, and so the thing to do is to encourage people to be assertive, and then the questions resolve themselves. Also, to be assertive in the way they hear things, and that way the question resolves itself. Because if I ask you a question, you can assertively hear it as a statement about something that I'm afraid of or excited about, or you know, are you going to the movies today? That's not begging for you to answer yes or no. It's begging for you to acknowledge that I want to come along.
Right,
you know?
right. Every question can't be taken the same way.
Is a statement. That's a side. But I will mention that once in my classes. You know, this is generally taboo. And then for the rest of an 8-week class, someone will be in a scene, they'll ask a question, they'll stop, they'll turn around and look at me and say, I'm sorry, I asked a question. And I was like, that's exactly the opposite of what I want you to do. Like,
right. You want to commit. Even if you're going to do that, you're going to commit to the idea that you're asking this question. It's just, why are you asking the question is the real issue. You know, if I say to you, hey, is the color of that car brown? It's so much easier to just say, look at that brown car. Because that brings you to another action. Instead of having to answer the question, then move on. That's the way it was taught to me. But if you say, you know, isn't that brown car the ugliest you've ever seen? it gives information, and you can work with that, and it's more of, like you said, making a statement and not. But I'm assertively saying that is really an ugly brown car, even though I'm asking in the form of a question.
Right. And even then, I would encourage a player not to answer that with yes or no, rather to answer that with, well, you're a snob, or jump past to what you're actually saying. So anyway, going back. So I try and teach from an encouraging place. I want to encourage you to be assertive. I want to encourage you, and I want to. I don't want to fill your mind with stuff you shouldn't do. And again, I was talking about where you are versus where you want to be, or where I want you. And here's the thing, and I'm just realizing this right now, is about Del. Where he wanted you to be was further than you thought you could go. And that was the big difference. And he had a personal passion about, like, he cared so much about it, because long form improv was his baby. It was his child, as much as any biological children he may or may not have had. So if he saw someone crapping on his baby, or treating his baby without sensitivity and care, he got insulted and angry the way a parent would, And when I think back to like great teachers that I've had, there was my high school French teacher scared us lifeless, like lifeless, not all the time. In fact, he was usually happy, funny, intelligent, obviously intelligent. But you didn't have your homework. If you came in without your homework done, it would be like, he threw my books across the room once, like a lot of people cried in his class, because
in a high school French class.
Yeah. In a high school French class. Wow. Well, it was a private school. So like he could get away with, I think, a little bit more.
And back then people didn't care as much.
Exactly.
But then keep trying. I
realized at a certain point it's because he loves this. Like he loves it so much. And when I don't show up ready to play, it insults him. It personally hurts him, And once I realized that, then suddenly we had this great relationship, and he took me to France at the end. And of all the people in high school that I'm in touch with from, I'm most in touch with him.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Like my French teacher, and now he's a Ben Franklin impersonator. He plays Ben Franklin around the world.
Who didn't really endear himself to the French, oddly enough.
Yeah. Well, much more. No, actually, John Adams did not endear himself to the French.
Was it John Adams?
Ben Franklin
I tried to sound intelligent, but it didn't work.
Was an absolute. He struggled to get anything done, and what's really sad is that what he got done got unraveled like right after the revolution, just because of because it was a trade deal, invest in our revolution and then we'll trade with you. But you can't go ship to ship and say, hey, English speaking sea captain, hang out with this French guy and not the English guy that you've been working with all these years,
Right.
And so it all fell apart, and then the French Revolution, blah, blah, blah.
Well,
you could say Ben Franklin
and the rest, as they say,
the French Revolution.
Well, there you go. There's my irony. Thank you for saving my little joke.
There you go.
Nothing better than cold historical fact to make comedy work.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're gonna have to kind of wrap it up.
I love that we spent this whole hour and
we didn't get to New York
and spent the whole time on tangent,
which is exactly my goal for this podcast, for us to forget about time and space and any particular goal and just let it fly. And I think that when we pick it up the next time, we'll do this soon, and we will cover everything you've done in New York. And I think it's because we skipped over a tremendous amount of stuff that you've done over the last 10 years, and including dealing with me. So how do people keep in touch with you now to prime themselves for the next time you sit with me?
Keep in touch. I guess I'm on Twitter.
Aren't we all?
Pat _Shay.
And it's SHAY.
AY. Yeah. What else? And then with my wife, we keep a website called dearpatandmary.com. That includes our Improv for Kids stuff and our different shows. And then I also keep a blog called Pat Shay Central.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And we'll definitely talk about Mary, too, because we know she's not going to listen to this.
Exactly. Thank God.
Thanks for doing this.
Hey, thank you so much for having me.
All right, that is Pat Shay, part 1. I'm so amazed that the time went so fast that we didn't even get to New York, but we will have Pat on again. We will go through all of his New York experience and all the stuff he did with various improv groups and how he has become such a staple as a teacher here in New York of improv and his other acting pursuits, because he is a fairly well-rounded guy. And as you can hear, he's a lot smarter than me. If you want to keep in touch with Pat in the meantime, you can go to the website he talked about that he runs with his wife, Mary, dearpatandmary.com. You can find out all the information about the classes they teach, the stuff for kids, and the show they produce, Jazz Hand, which is incredibly well received. So check them out, dearpatandmary.com. You can follow Pat on Twitter at Pat_Shay, SHAY, and you can go find his blog, and that'll be linked on our website in the show notes for this episode. Thanks to Pat. I'm looking forward to doing it again, and to keep on trucking, man. You're doing great. That's about it for another edition of Bring Your Own Lunch. Glad you can join us. Gotta thank Banuba. Banuba.net, BANOOBA.net. Find out where the music from this show comes from. Download. Go see him live. Please come to our website, bringyourownlunch.com. You can send me a personal email, dave@bringyourownlunch.com. You can find out about my acting career, dave@daveasanactor.com. Let's plug that a little bit. Why not? On Facebook, you can like us, facebook.com/bringyourownlunch. You can follow us on Twitter at BYOL Podcast. You can hook up with us on Instagram at bringyourownlunch. And of course, please, if you do like what you're hearing, please just take a second, go over to iTunes or Stitcher if you're listening via Stitcher, rate, review, subscribe to the show. It really does help us out a lot, and it would be much appreciated, and you would in turn be the proverbial man. Stay tuned for Jimmy Jack's Cowpunch Hour, followed by Mansoor and the Fish, and until next week when I have another great guest lined up, this is Dave. I'll see you next Tuesday. The Oscars was just weird.